There are plenty of games which have been proclaimed to be the worst video game ever made, but few stoop to the indefensible depths that Custer's Revenge on the Atari 2600 achieved. Even Atari's E.T., the subject of the first Digital Archaeology video, had some degree of charm that, at least in my eyes, gives it a degree of redemption and worth. Custer's Revenge, on the other hand, is utterly beyond recovery. It is a racist, sexist, victimising title with deeply troubling themes and mechanics. As technically inept as games like E.T. and Pac Man were on the 2600, neither game compounded their failings with crude depictions of sexual assault or the glorification of genocide. Custer's Revenge appeared in September 1982, around about the same time that Atari released its ill-fated adaptation of Steven Spielberg's E.T. The game was created by a small company called Mystique, who specialised in creating so-called adult video games which leveraged crude sexual imagery and bold warnings plastered on their products to generate press and sell units. Among the company's small repertoire of titles was a game called Bachelor Party, which, like much of the rest of the company's portfolio, drew heavily upon established gameplay mechanics, whilst adding low-resolution pornographic imagery into the mix. In the case of Bachelor Party, the company copied the mechanics of the Atari classic Breakout, whilst replacing the basic imagery of the original with extremely crude depictions of naked men and women. Titillating, it was not. Custer's Revenge upped the ante of this approach quite considerably by supplementing the company's already lowbrow sensibilities with the casual use of rape as a gameplay mechanic. In Custer's Revenge, players move from one side of the screen to another, dodging a small storm of falling arrows in order to reach a naked Native American woman tied to a post. Once players reach their destination, they must press the joystick's action button in order to begin assaulting the woman, gaining a point for each time they're able to press the button before an arrow inevitably falls upon their head. That's it. There's no more to this game than that simple ever-repeating mechanic. It is appallingly blunt, exploiting, as it did, the intersection of race, gender and genocide for no other reason than to generate a profit. Perhaps worst of all was the comparative level of success which the game achieved, shifting a reported 80,000 units in its lifetime. At least some of that success was a result of the negative publicity which the game's publisher deliberately went out of their way to generate. In order to promote the game, its publisher cynically invited members of a New York women's group and Native American organisation to play it. Their trolling worked, and a protest was organised which ultimately helped to further spread word about the game. Writing in InfoWorld in November 1982, writer Deborah Wise commented upon the obvious baiting the game's publisher was engaged in, whilst highlighting the simultaneous need to protest the game's existence. The game was and is utterly beyond redemption. Its subject matter focused depictions and goals make for a nauseating and disturbing mix. That it was defended by anyone, and it was a damning indictment of the early video games industry. When contenders for the worst video game made are touted by critics as they so often are, this title, more than any other, deserves their unqualified recognition.